Over the last few months, it seems like Congress was super split on whether to pass Joe Biden's new $1 trillion infrastructure bill. In the bill, there are a ton of new changes to our US tax code and a lot of things that are going to need to be funded. This new $1 trillion infrastructure bill is aimed at fixing America's infrastructure. That includes everything from roads and bridges to cybersecurity and even some water treatment plants. But after months of debating the bill, it looks like the Senate has finally passed it, which means now it just needs to go to the House and it will officially become law. But the bill itself creates a ton of new offices and a ton of new things that President Biden wants to get done. This is all in his agenda to actually fix the country and its infrastructure. But at the end of the day, the United States does not have $1 trillion just lying around. So it's going to need new money to actually fund these new proposals. So where's the US government going to get all this new money? If you guessed you'd be right. The US government is imposing some new taxes in some of these infrastructure bills, and one in particular that people are super worried about is a new vehicle tax. This tax would say that any mileage you have on your car could be taxed over a certain amount. And as you can probably guess, people don't like being taxed already. So this new tax is not going to go over well, especially when it comes to driving and people's cars. So the question is this new infrastructure bill going to tax you for all the miles that you drive? And if it does, what is that going to look like for you? Are you going to be taxed every single time you drive? Is this going to be something that you're going to have to file for at the end of the year? What is this new mileage tax and how exactly does it work? That's why today we'll be breaking down all of this and more, so make sure to stick around till the very end to learn everything you need to know about the infrastructure bill and this new mileage tax. But before we get into all that, I need you to do me a quick favor and smash that thumbs up button below. Hit that notification bell too, that way YouTube shows our videos to way more money minds around the world, and we can keep making videos just like this one. Like I said before, nobody likes taxes, especially new taxes. But the thing is, taxes are one of the only ways that the government can get money. Remember, the US government is a non-profit entity, which means one of the only ways that it can get money to fund its projects is through taxpayer dollars. And whenever the government proposes a new bill, whether that's at the state or federal level, they have to figure out a way to pay for it. And one of the big ways that they pay for it is by changing the tax code. Now, the only body that can actually change the tax code is Congress. Congress will set up what we pay in taxes on the federal level, and then your Congress within your state will decide what you pay on the state level. But the thing to remember about taxes is this: we all gotta pay them. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. So when Joe Biden initially started to run for president and had a lot of these ideas, in particular this infrastructure program, a lot of people scratched their heads and wondered, how is he gonna pay for it? Like I said before, this new program is worth $1 trillion. So that means the US government is going to have to find $1 trillion in order to fund its program. And this time around, they're getting pretty creative. Inside this infrastructure bill, there are a few changes that Congress hopes to make to the tax code in order for this bill to pass and for it to get funded. One of the ways that Congress hopes to do that is to increase the capital gains tax. I've talked a lot about this in some other videos, so if you want to learn everything you need to know about these potential new capital gains tax changes, I'll link a video for you in the description below. But essentially, these new capital gains taxes would be raised for the 1 to 2% of earners in the country. This would hopefully bring in enough money for the federal government to fund these new programs. But that affects the top 1 to 2% earners in the country. That means $400,000 earning plus a year. But there's some other changes that seem to affect the everyday person, like this new mileage tax. This new mileage tax proposes that anyone that drives a certain amount per year will be taxed on that mileage. This is just one of the many ways that the federal government is using to be very creative on how to fund its new programs. But if you look a little deeper into the bill, then there is a lot more to see here. It's important to mention that this new infrastructure bill and the taxes that are proposed in it are not official yet. The bill has not actually gone through the House of Representatives again after the Senate made its changes. Furthermore, this new mileage tax is not set in stone yet. It is currently a pilot program that the federal government is using to test to see if that's something they would consider taxing on in the future. Essentially, this new pilot program would tax drivers 8 cents for every mile that they drive. And the average American drives between 10 and 20,000 miles every single year. And that scared a lot of people because they thought they would have to spend an extra $1,000 to $2,000 in taxes just for driving their own car. And I mean, I agree. That would scare me a lot too. If I had to pay an extra $1,000 to $2,000 just to drive my own car, that could be a pretty hefty tax. But the thing here is that this bill has not passed yet, and this is just a pilot program within the bill. As of right now, this new pilot program is not going to affect the general public, at least not yet, which means the only people it's going to affect are the people that are interested in joining the government study. And like I said, this is just a study to see how taxing mileage would work for the federal government. Right now, the program is completely voluntary, and anybody that actually joins the program and pays money towards it will be completely reimbursed after the study is completed. So where exactly did this mileage tax idea even come from? I mean, the US has been driving cars for about 100 years now, and we have never had a mileage tax like this. At the moment, the federal government uses the Highway Trust Fund to get all of the money that it needs to rebuild and maintain our roads. The way that it does this is by taxing gas and diesel sales. Problem is, though, the federal government has not been able to get enough funds since 2008 to actually sustain and repair our roads. So since 2008, the federal government has pulled billions of dollars from other federal programs to actually keep our roads in decent shape. This means taking money from vital programs like healthcare and education just to move it for our roads. This has led the federal government to get very creative about how it gets its money for the roads, and one of the ways that it's testing right now is to instill a mileage program. But like I said before, this mileage tax is not set in stone as of yet. The federal government is just testing this to see if it would be viable for our country. And in turn, it may allow the US government to actually use a lot of the funds that it hopes to for its specific tasks, rather than pulling money and sending it to other things because some funds are running out of cash. As of right now, though, it looks like the Senate did just pass this bill, which means it's back to the House, and if they pass it, it'll be moved on to President Joe Biden, who will then institute it into law. The House has said this new infrastructure bill could become law at the earliest by the end of October. And if passed, it would give billions of dollars towards America's roads and bridges, as well as its water systems and cybersecurity needs. So as of recording this video, there are no changes to our tax code as of yet. But the US government is getting pretty creative about how it taxes and gets money for its program. So we'll be sure to update you if anything changes. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think about this new infrastructure bill? Do you think this mileage and capital gains tax is something that's going to help the country, or do you want the federal government to stay far away from taxing its people even more? In addition, do you think this pilot program for the mileage tax will ever become a thing for the entire United States? Or do you think it'll be just that, just a pilot program? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below before you go. That is it for today's business and financial news breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. Keep hustling, money minds, and I'll see you all in the next one.